Hello and good morning, grade 7 with you, Mr. Samir Awad, and today we are going to start our new lesson about layers of the atmosphere, part 1. And this one is going to talk about what are the four main layers of the atmosphere, as we said, and also what are the characteristics of the atmosphere's layer. So let's start, guys, by this interesting lesson today. So the first question is what are the main or the four main layers of the atmosphere? And here imagine taking a trap upward into the atmosphere in a hot air balloon. So you begin on a warm beach near the ocean at an altitude of 0 kilometer above the sea level, and that's your start point. And after that, you hear a roar as the balloon's pilot turns up the burner to heat air balloon in order to move away up. So the balloon begins to rise and Earth's surface gets further away. And also, as the balloon reaches an altitude of 3 kilometers, you realize that the air is getting colder. And at 6 kilometers, you begin to have trouble breathing. The air is becoming less dense, and it is time to go back down again. And that's what we knew about the increasing here in the elevation when you get in the balloon. So 60 kilometers is pretty high. In fact, it's higher than all, but the very tallest mountains, but there are still hundreds of kilometers of atmosphere above you if you want to go up more. It is mainly seems to be the air the same from the ground to edge of a space, but air pressure and temperature changing with altitude as you know before. So scientists divide Earth's atmosphere into four main layers, classified according to the changes in the temperature. And these layers are the troposphere, the stratosphere, the mesosphere, and the thermosphere. Today we are going to get to them, troposphere and stratosphere. So what are the characteristics of the atmosphere's layers? And unless you become an astronaut, you will see that you won't make trip to the upper atmosphere. But if you could make that journey, what would you see? Read on to learn more about conditions you would experience in each layer of the atmosphere. So the first is the troposphere, and you live in the inner or lowest layer of the Earth's atmosphere, which is the troposphere. So the lower one attached to the Earth's surface is the troposphere. And tropos means turning or changing of the conditions in the troposphere. You mean that you will get variable than the other layers, and also the weather will change, and the weather change happen in this layer. Like you will see rains, you will see winds, and something like that that's happening in the troposphere. And the troposphere is about to be as average a 12-kilometer thickness. And also, however, it varies from 16-kilometer thickness above the equator to less than 9 kilometers when it gets above the North and the South Pole. And also, although it is the shallowest layer, the troposphere is the most dense layer in these layers because it contains almost all of the mass of the atmosphere. As altitude increases in the troposphere, the temperature decreases. On average, for every 1 kilometer increase up in the altitude, the air gets about 6.5 Celsius cooler. So it means that the temperature decreases by 6.5 when you increase the height or the elevation, or even to get up altitude by 1 kilometer. So at the top of the troposphere, the temperature stops decreasing and stay at about -60 Celsius. And water here forms thin, feathery clouds of ice. I can see that imagination for the robot is getting to get up and up in the air in order to see in the troposphere what's going to happen in the atmosphere. So when we get a consolidation about our uh, troposphere, we'll get that the altitude of it, or we can say the thickness, is about from 0 to 12. So the thickness is about 12 kilometers. And also when we talk about the temperature, it drops by 6.5 Celsius for each 1 kilometer increase in the altitude. And also the observation you will see that there is rains, snow, and most clouds occur in the troposphere, and the weather varies throughout the troposphere according to that. And most of the mass, never forget, of the gases and of the atmosphere is concentrated in the troposphere. Let's get to the second one, which is the stratosphere. And the stratosphere extends from the top of the troposphere to about 50 kilometers above Earth's surface. So it's about thickness of 38 kilometers. And strato means layer and or spread out. So the stratosphere is the second layer of the atmosphere and contains the ozone layer. Yeah, the lower stratosphere is cool because it's about to be 60 Celsius, and surprisingly, the upper stratosphere is warmer than the lower stratosphere because the ozone layer protects living things from ultraviolet radiation from the sun and absorb it. And when the atmosphere in this area is going to absorb in the layer of ozone most of the sun ultraviolet radiation, will increase the temperature in the upper part of the stratosphere. So why is this? The middle portion of the stratosphere has a layer of air where there is much more ozone than the rest of the atmosphere. And ozone, you have to know, it's a form of oxygen atoms of about 3 oxygen atoms in order to make the molecule of the ozone layer instead of 2 like the usual oxygen O2, but the ozone is O3. When ozone absorbs the energy from the sun, the energy is converted into heat and warming the air in this area. That's increasing the upper part of the stratosphere temperature. So if we said it starts to be the altitude about from 12 to 15 kilometers, so it's about 38-kilometer thickness, and the temperature at the lower portion of it is going to be -60, and it's increasing by getting upper. And the observations for this part, we will get the middle portion. The middle portion has ozone layer, filters out UV or ultraviolet light warmer than the lower stratosphere. So if we get to that, guys, we'll get the difference of temperature here. Yeah, it starts at the troposphere by this part of about 20